And actually, the best way of managing a transformation in a workplace or something like that is to do it in steps. Is to, before you bring in a new piece of software or a new system or a new computer or whatever it is, look at the actual phases of that work. So what is it that member of staff needs to do to get their job done? Are there efficiencies that we could make along the way there, and then match those efficiencies to whatever the software is that you're going to bring in? Sounds all very boring and all very techy, but that's the big thing that stops people from embracing change. It's because they sit there because we've thrown too much at people all at the same time. Today, in Syria, there has been massive change. Decades worth of dictatorship suddenly over. And a country that is now in carnage. Because, albeit they've been under a horrible and horrendous dictator for decades, for many it's all they've ever known. And now suddenly, over the next few days and weeks, this is where we're going to see change, where we're going to see order trying to be brought to different parts of people's lives, to different parts of the state, to different parts of government. All at the same time when we've got, I was in Paris on Wednesday to Friday this week. I arrived in Paris on Wednesday, and within an hour the government fell. Literally, we've just got stuff going on all over the place where there's change. South Korea this week has had a military coup briefly, and then that got stopped. So literally just all this stuff that's happening all of the time. But what's that relevance to us with Advent? And what's the relevance for today's reading? Advent is a season of preparation. It's a season where we are expectation of God's work in the world, God coming on earth. Something that had been foretold for a long time and had been expected for a long time. And in today's reading from Luke, we hear from John the Baptist, who cries out into the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord, make his paths straight." Is preparing the way. What can we do as a community to prepare the way for God? Now, John isn't preaching from a temple or from a city. He's preaching from a desert. He's standing in the wilderness, a place of vulnerability, of challenge, and of renewal. And for us as queer Christians, faith can often feel like we are in a wilderness, that we are in a wilderness journey. It's a place where we have to wrestle with questions, with rejection, and navigate a path that sometimes those around us don't understand. But it's not just a place of struggle. The wilderness isn't just a place of struggle. It's a place where that transformation begins. John's call to repentance is literally a change of mind, a turning towards God, inviting us to see the wilderness differently. It's a place where God is doing something new, preparing us for what's ahead. Now, this whole idea of making the path straight is actually really practical. Every valley shall be filled, every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth. It's talking of radical change. Valleys represent means addressing those realities, addressing the obstacles and the places of emptiness or despair, both in our lives and in our communities and the wider world. So what valleys do we have in our lives? What valleys need filling in your life? Perhaps it's a sense of worthiness or belonging. What mountains need levelling in our lives? Is it the fear? Is it shame? Or are they barriers that we have put up between ourselves and others, or ourselves and God? As a church, we are called to participate in this work, to fill the valleys of exclusion with love, to level the mountains of injustice, and to make a clear path for all people to encounter God. Luke concludes with a promise: all flesh shall see the salvation of God. And that's the heart of the gospel. God's love, God's grace and salvation are not just limited to a select few, not just to the rabbis. They're for everyone. John's message reminds us that Advent isn't just around personal preparation. It's about collective transformation. It's a call to create a world where all people can experience the fullness of God's salvation. So how do we prepare the way today? What in your life needs renewal or realignment with God's love and justice? Like John, can we speak out for hope, inclusion and transformation in the spaces that we inhabit? And as a church, can we continue removing barriers and creating spaces where everyone can experience the love of God? Advent reminds us that God is coming, not just in the future, but here and now. And we're invited to be a part of that coming. John's call to prepare the way is just as urgent today as it was 2,000 years ago. What valleys in our community need filling? What mountains of exclusion need levelling? And how can we, as the gathering, be a sign of God's salvation breaking into the world? So as we reflect on these questions that I've prepared, let us remember that we aren't preparing alone. That's why we're discussing. That's why we talk about these things. God's already at work here in the gathering. God's already at work in the wilderness, turning it into a place of transformation and renewal. So the 4 questions that I've put for us to discuss are: what wilderness experiences in your life have shaped or transformed your faith? What are the mountains or obstacles in our world today that prevent people from encountering God's love? How can the gathering work together to make straight paths for God's love and justice? And how are you preparing your heart and your life to welcome God's presence this Advent season? We'll break into 2 groups tonight. So if one wants to stay inside and one goes at the back, we'll spend 20 minutes on this, about 5 minutes on each question. And maybe if Nikki does, which one do you want to go at the back or stay in?
Go back, yeah.
So Nikki will go at the back and I'll stay in here with some people. We'll spend about 20 minutes on this. Oh, for the people online, thank you for joining. Oh, sorry, I turned my mic off then. For the people online, I forgot that you were there. Thank you for joining us. We've got our Carol service next week. Correct me, are we doing the whole of that online? Yes. So we won't be breaking off halfway through. You can stay on for the whole of that next week. So we'll see you next week for the online people. Bless you.